Well, I mean, I'm crestfallen. I've gotten to know Kobe after his career. We live in the same area. Our daughters went to school together for a couple years, and one of the other families, the Altabellis, John's a legendary junior college baseball coach.
One of the families that was tragically killed.
Yes, and his wife Carrie, and they leave 2 kids. Christina Mauser is a PE teacher at their school. She leaves 3 kids. I mean, it's a terrible local tragedy. And my daughter's friend Alyssa was obviously on that plane. And so first you're dealing with, I have a 13-year-old daughter. It's enough problems in middle school. Now all of a sudden you're dealing with death. And then it's Kobe. And I think you said it before, Chris, the timing of what happened the night before. And LeBron was even talking about it. LeBron talked for a couple minutes, and it's really interesting. He kind of let us in that, back when Kobe was playing in the All-Star game, his hometown of Philadelphia, he and LeBron got together with Maverick Carter.
They drove to go see him.
Yeah, and he was getting ready to play Oak Hill the next day, and Kobe gave him his shoes, and LeBron wore them even though they're size too small, right? So to go from LeBron passing him in Philadelphia and becoming 3rd all time, and Kobe has handled this so well, as well as you possibly can. And then it pops up on your phone, your daughter's crying, and you don't know what's going on, and then you just understand the magnitude. And I think the fact that we had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar right there, NBA stars are not like NFL stars, right? NBA stars seem to live forever. And Jordan's still alive.
They gave out the first MVP in 1956. As of yesterday morning, only Wilt Chamberlain and Moses Malone were the MVPs that were not still with us. And the fact that it's now 3 and Kobe's one of them, it speaks to that point. We were talking about this before the show. Bill Russell has seemed like the oldest man in the room for my entire life, and you still see him every NBA Finals. You're absolutely. Moses was sudden. Right. Wilt was older. But we thought we were going to have 50 more years of Kobe Bryant in our lives.
And Chris and I, we've talked about this even going back to when he was playing. A lot of people were worried about Kobe.
Right.
Because Kobe cannot be a GM. He cannot be a coach, right? His demands on people in terms of their work ethic is beyond what normal people are really even capable of. So we're like, what else? And he did find this. I mean, he was really into coaching the Mamba girls. He's sending me videos of triangle and some of the drills they're doing, and they're practicing 5 days a week. And then he had his empire. But so my initial reaction, I was just crestfallen for all these Newport families. And then you start to understand the magnitude of NBA superstars don't die. And then the story itself, the whole thing is you cannot write a script like this. From the air ball, his freshman year in the playoffs. Rookie year in the playoffs, to becoming seen as the greatest closer. The injuries, Colorado, becoming this family man, Mamba out, and now having an Academy Award. It's the most remarkable tale I can think of for an NBA player, and unlike so many of his contemporaries, gone way too soon.
Yeah, Bill Plaschke, the longtime columnist for the LA Times, and his career at the LA Times basically mirrored Kobe's career with the Lakers.
Plaschke started 2 months before Kobe's first game.
And he wrote yesterday in his column, one of the lines was, Kobe does not die. This can't be true. Kobe doesn't die. And we know he's a basketball immortal, but that was part of my thinking when I heard the news, wait a minute, this can't be true. Kobe Bryant is one of those handful of players that you just expected to always be there, to always be in the fabric of sports and basketball. And I'm going to be honest, I think one of the things I'm going to try to start applying more to my life is something that I look at Kobe as having, and that is, and I think anyone in any field of endeavor should learn this from Kobe. He did nothing just for the heck of it. He did nothing just to get through it. Oh, I've got to do this. When he played basketball, it was, I'm playing to be the best ever, or at least the best I can be. I remember seeing him, when one of his new models of his sneaker would come out. He's like, you got my new shoe? You got my new shoe yet? Or when the Muse came out in his Showtime documentary, we used to email every so often. And he moved around a bit as a kid, I moved around a bit as a kid. Sometimes we were both one of the few African Americans in our areas. So I we kind of talked a little bit about that over email. And he was like, "You're going to love the Muse." That's because of that. Like, he took so much pride in everything he did, whether it was his shoes, whether it was his game, whether it was the stuff he did after, off the court, the Showtime documentary, and so on and so forth. I'm really going to try to apply that to my life. Don't be mediocre in anything. Always try to be the best.
I think it's an amazing lesson that a lot of people say, and very few people actually do. Kobe, we had proof positive evidence he was actually doing it by what he did post-career. But your point about what Plaschke wrote, Kobe doesn't die, I think this is one of the reasons it's resonating so much, because he's a global icon. You could argue he's the most popular player globally the NBA's ever had. Like, when we look at the NBA today, and we talked about it Friday, 4 of the starting All-Stars, Cameroon, Greece, Nigeria via Greece, and Slovenia. The way the NBA just became truly a global game is in large part because those kids grew up idolizing Kobe. But so there's that part of it. The other part of it is this. It makes us all feel like, could be us, if Kobe Bryant can die in a helicopter crash along with his daughter and those 7 other people that Doug, had a relationship with and whose lives are just as valuable as Kobe's, then there's any of us. And it makes, I think we all know we're going to die, but none of us ever actually believe it. Or I think maybe that's just me. Like, it's true, but it's hard to actually believe. And then when you see Kobe Bryant died, it makes all of us question our own mortality to that degree.
The popularity is fascinating because, Chris, you probably attest to this. Most guys didn't like him when he played in his prime. He didn't have a lot of friends in the NBA. Late in his NBA career, he tried to start befriending guys, and guys were like, "What is the deal with Kobe?" Right? Or now he's friendly Kobe or whatever. But if you pull the current NBA players, he's their Jordan.
Yes.
He's their Jordan, right? And Iverson's probably a close second, and maybe part of it is they didn't live with it, whatever. He's also, he's going to go down as the last of the mid-range guys, the last of the ISO guys. He's a very unique figure. Remember, he wanted out of LA. He was going to be traded, and then the Bulls couldn't pull it off, and he ends up reinvesting. They get Phil Jackson out of retirement after ripping him in a book.
They get power.
The whole thing is nuts. And yet he's gone, so he can't. We're left to tell all these stories.
But we could do 3 hours of a show based solely on what Kobe Bryant did on the court. And how few people do we know who could reach the pinnacle of their craft, and yet we could spend hours and hours talking about what they did outside of their craft. And I think that's what makes this such a unique individual and obviously such a tragic passing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think his mental legacy, the legacy he leaves for people mentally, is as big as the legacy he's left physically. And you mentioned it, Doug, like a lot of players may not have liked him when he played. Kobe grew up so much differently than your average NBA player. Again, in Italy, he grew up there, and then he was in the suburbs in Philadelphia. And so I saw him, at least in my relationship with him, earlier in his career. I don't know if he was as comfortable in his skin, at least in that setting of the NBA, because he grew up so differently.
He wanted to be Jordan.
Right.
He used to almost. He did the best Jordan imitation of anybody.
He was against Phoenix when he hit the game winner. He did the thing, and then it only seemed to me later, really post the championships without Shaq, that he decided, instead of trying to be my best version of Michael Jordan, I'm going to be my best version of Kobe Bryant. And that then turned into also off the court.
Right.
It turned into winning an Academy Award and doing these things.
It was a succession of things. Remember, before he tore his Achilles tendon, that was a terrible basketball team that he single-handedly willed into the playoffs.
Yep.
Right? That was his. And then the year off, that he was at that school with his daughter serving lunches, and I thought that really, and it gave him time to think. and think about what he wanted to do next. And that's when he kind of plotted this whole strategy about being a global financial icon. And then he comes back, and he wasn't very good, but the 60 in the last night and the speech Mamba out is, it's Jeterian. It's like Derek Jeter. Those are the two guys. That's what we're